Soapy sat on a worn-out bench in Madison Square, New York, gazing up at the expansive sky. The air was brisk, and a single dead leaf fluttered down, landing lightly on his arm. Winter was approaching swiftly, and Soapy knew he had to make his plan. He shifted uncomfortably on his seat, contemplating his usual winter retreat. For the past several years, his winters were spent in the warmth of a prison cell, accompanied by food and the company of fellow inmates. The thought of another cold night in the square, wrapped in nothing but 3 newspapers that barely kept the chill at bay, was unbearable. Soapy decided it was time to head back to the familiar confines of prison. With a determined nod, he stood up, ready to put his plan into action. First step was simple and usually effective. Dine at an expensive restaurant, claim he had no money to pay, let the authorities handle the rest. Confident in this tried-and-true method, Soapy left his seat and ambled down the bustling street. Soon he arrived at a bright and inviting restaurant on Broadway. This establishment seemed perfect for his scheme. All he needed to do was get inside, order a meal, and sit down. His coat and shirt, though not new, were presentable enough to mask the state of his worn trousers and scuffed shoes. With a quick glance at the menu, Soapy settled on a modest yet satisfying meal. He stepped inside, but his hopes were dashed when the sharp-eyed waiter immediately noticed his shabby trousers and battered shoes. Before Soapy could even take a seat, strong hands firmly guided him back onto the street. Frustrated but undeterred, Soapy trudged away from Broadway and wandered down 6th Avenue. He stopped in front of a shop window, its bright display catching his eye. An idea sparked in his mind, picked up a loose stone and, with deliberate aim, hurled it at the window. The glass shattered with a resounding crash, drawing the attention of passers-by and, most importantly, a nearby policeman. Soapy stood still, hands in his pockets, a satisfied smile on his face. "I'll be in prison soon, God." Policeman approached, eyeing Soapy suspiciously. "Who did that?" the officer demanded. "Perhaps I did," Soapy replied nonchalantly. But the policeman wasn't convinced. He knew that real criminals didn't linger around to chat. They ran. Just then, he spotted another man dashing to catch a bus and sprinted after him, leaving Soapy standing alone and free. Soapy sighed in exasperation and continued his quest. His next target was a small, less conspicuous restaurant. This time, no one paid attention to his appearance. He enjoyed his meal and then calmly informed the waiter, "I haven't got any money. Call the police." To his dismay, the waiter responded, "No police for you." He summoned another waiter, and together they unceremoniously ejected Soapy onto the cold pavement. Lying there, Soapy felt a surge of anger. Struggling to his feet, he noticed a policeman nearby, laughing at his plight. Soapy walked on, more determined than ever. After some time, he spotted a young woman standing near a shop window, a policeman watching from a distance. Soapy approached her, putting on his most charming smile. "Why don't you come with me, my dear? I can show you a good time," he suggested. The young woman glanced at him, then resumed studying the window display. Soapy persisted, hoping she would call the policeman. Instead, she surprised him by taking his arm and agreeing to go with him, eager to avoid the watchful eye of the officer. Soapy was crestfallen. He walked away with the woman, clung to his arm, until he managed to escape at the next corner. Despairing, he wandered aimlessly until he reached a street lined with theaters, thronged with well-dressed patrons. Desperate, Soapy decided to create a commotion. He began to sing loudly, drawing attention to himself. But the nearby policeman merely remarked to a bystander, "He's had too much to drink, but he's harmless. We'll leave him alone tonight." What was wrong with the police? Soapy was at his wits' end. He stopped his antics and pondered his next move. Cold wind bit through his thin coat, reminding him of the urgency of his situation. As he passed a shop, he noticed a man placing an expensive umbrella near the door. The man lit a cigarette, leaving the umbrella unattended. Seizing the opportunity, Soapy walked in, picked up the umbrella, and sauntered away. "That's my umbrella," the man shouted, catching up to Soapy. "Oh, is it?" Soapy replied coolly. "Then why don't you call a policeman? Go ahead, there's one on the corner." The umbrella man hesitated, then admitted, "I might have made a mistake. I took it from a restaurant this morning. It's yours, I'm sorry." Soapy was exasperated. "Of course, it's my umbrella," he snapped. The policeman glanced over but quickly returned to helping a young woman cross the street. Defeated, Soapy threw the umbrella aside and cursed his rotten luck. No matter what he did, police refused to arrest him. Dejected, Soapy began his long walk back to Madison Square. As he neared his bench, he noticed a beautiful old church bathed in the soft glow of moonlight. Peaceful scene brought back memories of happier times when he had family and friends. Overwhelmed by emotion, he resolved to change his life. "Tomorrow," he vowed, "I'll find work and make something of myself. My life will be different." At that moment, a policeman's hand clamped down on his arm. Soapy jumped, startled. "What are you doing here?" the officer asked. "Nothing," Soapy replied. "Then come with me," the policeman ordered. The next day, the judge sentenced Soapy to 3 months in prison. His quest for a warm place to stay during the winter was finally fulfilled, in a way that left him pondering the twists of fate and his future